We are live once again at Tea and Crones here on YouTube. Welcome back. We are here with the lovely Miss Katrina Rasbold and Corbie Mitleid. I am your host, Dahlia Rose. I am the Rugrat Wrangler, the voice of the people. I will be taking your comments, questions, and all the add-ins to get them to these lovely, wise souls. So let's start with the introductions. How about Miss Katrina?
Hi, I'm Katrina Rasbold. I'm the co-owner of Crossroads Metaphysical Store. I've been a witch for around 38 years. I now work professionally and do spell work for people, also do spiritual cleansings and things like that for them, give them spiritual advice. Tarot reader also for around 35 years. And magic is my game, man. It's what I do. I'm also old, therefore qualified to the Crones.
Lovely. And let's hear from the lovely Miss Corbie.
Good evening, everybody, or as we say in New York, hello there. I'm Corbie Mitleid. I'm a certified tarot master, certified psychic, trained medium, and ordained minister. Been reading since I was 18. I'm going to be 66 next month. I'm one of the featured channels in Robert Schwartz's books, Your Soul's Planning Your Soul's Gift, and I've written 3 books myself. Clean Out Your Life Closet is Self-Help, The Psychic Yellow Brick Road, and You've Got the Genie, or How to Do the Ins and Outs of This Crazy Psychic World.
Wonderful. Now, the last time that we got together, it was to talk about common misconceptions. So we have professional witch and professional psychic with you both. I bring in a little bit of flavor from the healing aspect, but primarily we had some great insight. Just to recap real quick, and we'll have a link in the comments to the previous video. But for Katrina, she was sharing that, and this will be real quick, line by line. First one was she is somehow that people assume somehow that she is affiliated with Satan. She is not. And that is actually a Christian belief system. And what was lovely in the sharing for both parties along all of this is we aren't knocking anybody here, but we are here to bring truth. So the other piece is, so number 2, assumptions about being Wiccan versus being a witch. And there was a lot of clarity and insight around there. I really recommend you guys go and check out the other video. So you also don't need to have expensive tools. And that hit home for me for sure. And I know we all had a little insight. There was a little talk of kitty litter. And there was a little talk of, stumbling with incense when you're a little buzzed. I mean, it was wonderful. So you guys really, really need to go check out that other video. Next up, we had, just because we offer services, and I think this went for all 3 of us, not just within the realm of witchcraft, but just because we offer services does not mean that we are required to serve. But there is a manner of discernment that needs to take place. Lastly, for Katrina, there was an assumption around that she embraces karma, harm none, and the threefold, was it the threefold path?
Threefold law.
Threefold law, my apologies. And so if you want to know more about that, go and check out the video, like I said. Now, we had Corbie weigh in as well as a professional psychic, and her insights about the misconceptions were, we won't tell you what you want to hear. None of us will. Doesn't matter if we're doing the professional psychic thing in everyday life. We will not tell you what you want to hear. We just don't do that because we're authentic people. Drive-by psychic shootings. So with that one, it was more, Corbie, tell me a little bit more about that one.
That's what the Long Island medium does. She just
Yes.
goes up to a stranger, gives them a reading that could be traumatic, and says, "Just telling you," and walks away.
Yes. Yes. Corbie also went on to say how that can cause a bit of fear with regard to our practices and views of us, and we're not here to increase that on any level. Nobody needs that in their life. And then number 3 was, we aren't dial-a-dead. The dead have their lessons, we have ours, and we do our best to bridge the gap. But, you know, hoping to bring somebody through, this is a sacred thing. Katrina had a very funny story about bringing through information for people in a very public setting, and Corbie shared the same. And so, so this is, you know, we're doing our best, and in the realm of service, and that's what that point was all about. Again, you really want to check out the video. Number 4, don't mess with Ouija boards. Corbie shared a story about having to coach some kids through an experience that was just completely unpleasant. You can find, she even shared, you know, you can find Ouija boards in the kids section at places like Walmart, and just don't.
Don't.
We do not do remote spying. Again, this spans across the board here. So we are here to serve, heal, enlighten, and bring awareness. We are not here to get into other people's business on your behalf. Do not pay us for that. You will be refunded. Now we did touch on having kids present for different magical workings or readings or meditations. And so with that, the objective, or the main point, was about maturity and age. And please don't have them, you know, going through the cards, and we really don't want to share like the death card or the tower card in those moments with children when they may not have the maturity to understand. And lastly, don't shoot the messenger. Again, in the realm of service, we are here to tell you like it is, tell you what it is, and you know, it is for you to take with and do what you will. But shooting the messenger will get you nothing. It will not get you the asked for message. We will give you truth and authenticity. So with that, we have arrived at the point of continuing this lovely discussion. 5 more points to get in, because our magical number is 10. The number of completion in the minor arcana. So let's start with Corbie.
Okay. Misconception. We are here to answer your minutia. This is something that I did cover in my book, The Psychic Yellow Brick Road. And just to give you an example of some of the things that one woman asked me, because she says, I like detailed readings. I need to know if the Archangel still wants the Income Tax Department notified of fraudulent activity by X, and what information should I be given? And will I incur any displeasure from God, or is this part of his plan? Will I win the lottery, and how will that affect my future plans with this current house and the business and moving out of the country? Should I go to X? Why should I go? Should I go with my husband? When should I go to location, address of the property I am to buy, and what am I meant to do there? Will X lose the store because she has lost God's favor? And what has she done to cause this to happen? And if so, what can she do to regain God's favor? Excuse me?
Is that person asking about me?
No, this was 10 years ago. 10 years ago.
Well, that question killed Katrina for a minute.
I mean,
Someone we know, Corbie.
God's favor. Number one, God is not like your buddy in 3rd grade who likes you on Monday and doesn't on Thursday because you wore the same sweater she did. Get a clue. I should not have to tell you where to buy a house. I can give you some ideas about cities that will be good, but I'm not going to tell you what furniture to buy, what color your carpet should be, or whether you should eat peas or carrots for dinner. Guys, you have free will. It is the thing that you learn with being down here. Use it. Your guides do not care if you buy the red car or the blue car. They really, really don't. The guides are here to help you with spiritual questions and good life direction. They do not care if it's a Subaru or a Honda, I asked. Okay?
There really is some grandiosity to the idea that whatever we consider to be divine is really bunched up about our human behaviors and what we're going to do in our mundane life. As long as we hit our primary objectives that are set up for us pre-birth, or whatever contracts we agree to, whatever concept of spirituality you have, you know, they really just don't weigh in on that very much, I don't think.
There is not a set anything. Again, to Katrina's point, there is, you know, hit your main points, hit your lessons, and realize that they will circle back through. You know, to Corbie's point, it seems like it's generated from this concept of I'm gonna miss something, I'm gonna miss out on something. What if? And it's like, you know, life is both long and short. You will you will hit it, and be able to make decisions from there. So, and empowerment, guys, empowerment.
What I find in my practice, and Corbie, I'm curious to know if this is true for you, and Dahlia, for the people that come into your shop and work with you, is that people get weighed down on the minutia to distract themselves from the big picture and the things we're supposed to be looking at.
Yep. You may come in with a bunch of questions on your vacation and your kids, but if what I see is you really need to look at your job or your marriage, the cards will tell you what you need to know, not necessarily what you want to know, which goes right back to last week.
Very true.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Also,
absolutely.
something I tell my students pretty often is they like this idea that everything happens for a reason and everything means something. And it does, but what I tell them is that sometimes those meanings are just not very interesting. And so in the sense of that ripple effect, not everything matters. It just doesn't.
Absolutely. All right, Katrina.
I think this is probably one of the biggest misconceptions people bring to me, and it has to do with the work that I do for people with spell work, and that's going to involve usually candle burning. There might also be things like bindings or mirror box work or honey pots or vinegar jars or things like that, all expected to affect an outcome that the client wants. And that is that one candle is going to do it all, one candle to rule them all. And what that means is that I have this huge goal. I have come to you at the last possible moment when the situation is fully developed and has already blown. The horses are out. We got to close the barn door. I got to get all the horses back in. And I need you to fix all of that with one candle. So I cheated on my husband multiple times. He found out about it. He left me. He's the love of my life. I didn't realize what I had until now. I have to get him back because we are twin flames. And he's mad at me and he won't talk to me. And I need you to get him back. And I say, okay, well, there are things we can do. We can burn a come to me candle to get him to think about you and to reignite any feelings of love that are down there still simmering for him. We can do a honey pot to sweeten the relationship. We can do some pop-it work to draw him close to you and to create situations where you run into each other. So there are things we can do to make that happen. Well, can't you just burn a candle? Yes, we can burn a come to me candle. We can absolutely do that. But what I can tell you is that it's usually going to take a lot of candles. And everybody who comes to me, it seems like what they want to do, in essence, is control the free will of another person. They want me to force another person to make different decisions than what they've made organically. And any task that a person brings to me to affect magically has what I would call an energy load. And you have to hit that energy load to get that goal to happen. The problem is the energy load is constantly moving and we have no idea what it is because we don't know the mind of the other person. We don't know the factors of the other person. So let's go back to that idea of the person that left their cheating spouse and now the cheating spouse wants them back. If the person getting drawn back has fallen in love with somebody else, all of a sudden it's going to be a much higher energy load. If they have been missing the person and really love them and want to be around them, it's going to be a lower energy load. So my point is that one candle will usually not do the job. What does the job is a series of energetic pushes that get you closer and closer to your goal. And we're talking with some people 15, 20, 30, 100 candles. Doesn't have to be me that burns them. It just has to keep the energy flowing. So one candle usually is not going to do the job unless it was ready to do it right then.
Right. Any thoughts, Corbie?
Yeah, I'm actually going to use a medical idea. You go into your doctor and you've got a disease that has been entrenched for a while. He is not going to give you a magic pill and tomorrow you're better. He may say, okay, we're going to do physical therapy. I want to do some steroid injections. And if that doesn't work, we may have to go in and do surgery. But you're a doctor, you're supposed to put a Band-Aid on it and make it good. No. And if you've got an energetic situation where this has been happening with multiple scenarios and multiple people for multiple years, what makes you think that the candle's going to fix it? If anyone says one candle, bet you they'll also say $6,000 in a bad Russian accent. You know, a candle, you want to buy? No, it takes work and it takes your will and effort. The candle is a tool.
Absolutely.
It is not what fixes it. Katrina? Yes?
Yeah. And in my work, I can speak to, usually there's an underlying reason. That's what I usually try to push people towards. That is actually going to, I found it enhances the candle work, is that people fixate perhaps on one person, one outcome. And it's like, well, if you actually go back to your desire, you'll realize that it's beyond that person. And we have comments this time, guys. We did have a Mercury retrograde moment during the last broadcast. And I think, it's from Rin. I apologize if I am butchering your last name, Silhan. This was more towards our last bullet point to say that things happen for a reason, but I think it's pertinent here. As you're going to burn that candle and you're working with that magical energy load, why not consider what you may be impacting in terms of that person's life path, their soul's lessons, and your desire, perhaps your selfishness on that one. So that's definitely a factor, I think, in that energy load is that person's soul a part of your contract and journey. So in any case.
Absolutely is. And another thing that's really tough is that there's so much more I could do for these people if they reframed what they want. So if you were to take that idea of, I want that person to come back to me, make them come back to me, that's a tall order. It is so easy to burn a candle to say, bring this person the love that they need right now, that's going to be fulfilling and mutual and fantastic for them. That I can do. It's the specific person where it gets weird.
Yeah.
Always think if the situation were reversed. If you left somebody and you're already with somebody else and you're very happy, how would you feel if someone came to Katrina and said, rip this person away because I want them back?
Yeah. Especially if you haven't done your work.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing, and I think Corbie will attest to this too, and you've probably run into this, Dahlia, that's a hard truth that I have students that I teach to do this professionally. And one of the things I tell them in the higher level classes is you need to be prepared for the fact your clients will lie to you.
Yeah.
That was really hard for me to process because I just, I felt like they were being authentic, and time again, it would turn out that, they just left out this huge part of the story, or they fabricated part of the story to get me to favor them so that I would do the work. And so you always have to be very objective and look at what you're hearing and what you're not hearing.
Absolutely. I ran into that. It was more of a viewership of it and not my personal involvement, but a father trying to, on another, like a Facebook group, trying to reconnect with their daughter. And I just got this sense that he had abused her. but he wasn't sharing that part of the story. And so everybody's like, I will pray for you to find her, and here's her photo. And I was just like, oh my God, I hope they don't. And you just don't know, as well intended as people may be, you don't have the whole story. And that was something that was taught in crisis counseling. You never have the whole story. So that was an excellent point, Katrina.
Even if they believe that they're telling you the whole story, their
Yeah.
perspective is often marred to the point that you're not getting the whole story.
Absolutely.
It is normal for us to want to make ourselves look like the hero in any story we tell, even if we're not.
Absolutely. I think that brings us to Corbie's next, just as she takes a drink. Spit take.
Don't come to me and say, hi, I'd like to know my purpose, please. Why am I here? Boom. I have not lived your life, faced your challenges, walked your path. For me to tell you what your purpose is like you walk into a Russian lit class and the teacher hands you War and Peace, and you say, oh, I don't feel like reading it. You've read it. Why don't you tell me what's the story about and give me the answers to the midterm? That's good. Now, when you want to find out your purpose, you have to look for your sentence of passion. And your sentence of passion is your rallying cry. When you go skidding into heaven on bald tires and fumes in the tank, and God hands you a beer and says, so, you get to say, I did this, look at this, isn't it cool? And that's not going to be for me to know. That's going to be for you to know when you look at your life and you see the recurring themes and the things that give you joy. Now, yes, you can have help with that, but no psychic should sit there and go, I see you actually should have been an engineer putting in new wells in Nigeria for rural people. And you run a 7-Eleven and you're 50. What do you do with that? It's better to look at what you always love. I always tell people they have two things. They have their motto, which is what they say to themselves in the morning in the mirror, and their sentence of passion, which is the rallying cry as they go through life. And trust me, you will have such a good time creating your own sentence of passion. You don't want it from me. If someone told me my purpose, my father wanted me to be a corporate lawyer. No. But I didn't know that I wanted to be a full-time psychic until my mid-40s. I had to live that path. And then I found my sentence of passion, which is cross the bridge from fear to fearlessness and fly. It's what I do with my clients. You, my guys, you get to find your own purpose. And we help you make it work, but it's your work.
Katrina?
Somebody asks me what their purpose is. I tell them it's to wash my dishes.
I get the purpose question too, whether it's a reading, whether it's a healing, and I have come to a place with a little bit more empathy, and I just try to tell them, listen, a wrench is a wrench is a wrench. The purpose of a wrench is to tighten a bolt or, to assist the mechanic. We might use it as a doorstop. We might use it as a defense tool if we're walking the street at night, but it is still a wrench. And, we may shift through purposes. There will be one primary. You will always operate in that. I tend to think of purpose as more as who we are. And then I usually get down to the root of the actual question, which is what path and how my purpose plays out on that path. So I find that people are often asking more about their path and less about their purpose. And that's something I can deal with. so that's my piece.
Very different things, yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Katrina, I think we're at number 3 or number 2.
I actually, number 2, mine is the idea that compelling lasts forever. And this speaks to the first thing I talked about, which is one candle does it all. And I'll have people, let's go back to our idea of I want my ex back. People believe that once you compel somebody to do something that it's a lock, and it's not. Anytime you're using compelling magic to change the way somebody thinks and behaves, it's going to wear off, and it's going to wear off very, very quickly. So let's say you get an ex-lover to come back to you, it's on you to convince them that that was a good choice and to give you another try and to be authentic and to be a better partner than you were before when they left. Compelling lasts very briefly. And let's say that you forced somebody to come back and be with you by magic. You will have to continue doing magic for that until one of you dies.
Wow.
Unless that person inwardly truly decides they want to be with you. So compelling does not last forever. Compelling rarely even lasts for a day or so. It is very fleeting and takes a lot of energy. And oh my gosh, the other stuff is so much easier to just draw to you what you need and want and distance yourself from what you don't want instead of trying to force somebody to do something they don't want to do.
Wow. Yikes, forever. I mean, and I think what I appreciate, I don't know that I necessarily, because that's, you've taught me in this moment. I had a concept of that when it comes to trying to outrun karma for doing bad things. You continuously have to do those bad things before it catches up. But it's interesting to hear that it is the same for love, and I appreciate your authenticity and candor on that, because in my head I'm also going, well, that's going to decrease the amount of compelling spells you end up getting, because nobody wants to do that forever.
And it doesn't. And I tell them that straight out. This is not likely to work. You're going to have to go on with this for a long time. I don't recommend it. And it's always, the answer is eternally, I just want a chance. I just want to try. I just want to try. Okay, here we go.
Oh, Corbie.
Let's see. Glasses. We have to match everything any other psychic said to you. Please. That is such an alarm bell for me. You know, no name dropping, no comparisons, no pop quizzes. Because number one, your future is fluid. And if you went to Madame Hoo-Ha a year ago, what she said may have worked, but if that person all of a sudden died of COVID, no, you're not still going to date them. So don't say to me, don't sit down with me and say, well, I've been to about 6 psychics and they've told me that blah, blah, blah. I'll go, great. Glad you went to them. Gone. Or you sit with me and you say, Madame Hoo-Ha didn't tell me that. Swami Solanda said that it would be the spring. I don't think so. If you are constantly negating what I'm telling you, why are you there in the first place?
Preach.
I mean, and we will come at it from different perspectives. And we may be saying the same thing, but with different language. This very often happened, back to my Canadian stories, with a great reader up there. Her name was Judy Abbott. And very often, since we had kind of the same energy, the same no nonsense vibe, people would see me and they'd see Judy, and it's like, no, we didn't pass each other a $20 bill to say the same thing, but we do it in very different styles. So we do not say you must only come to one psychic. Go to a couple if you'd like, but don't pit us against each other in order to get us to say the same thing or tell you what you want to hear. It will not work with a professional.
Very true. And I go back to the medical comparison with this too. If you go in to see a doctor and the doctor's running lab tests and CAT scans and everything else on you to figure out what's wrong with you, they want to see your medical records, sure, but they don't want you contradicting them because this doctor said this 2 years ago and this doctor said this 3 years ago. There's a difference in giving information versus using it as a challenge. And it does get very old when you're doing a reading for somebody and they just keep bringing up prior readings. And so I will recenter them and say, are you still feeling like you would like for me to read for you? Because if you're not, I'll give you your money back, because it sounds like you're wanting to use the wisdom from other readings you've gotten rather than hearing the ones from this one. And so if you're not going to be centered on the reading, I really just don't want to read for you right now.
This goes back to your energetic threshold as well. You know, as we make choices, things change. And so, yeah, your reading 2 years ago said this, and you probably made different decisions to change the outcome. Also, you know, I get well, my friend went through this and they had a different experience. Yeah, because that's their path. Healing is different. You know, we cannot, and nor do we, should you want the same. You will miss out on so much more. And you should desire to live your own path, and don't make life boring looking for the repeat information. Look for new things. Come on, live.
Yes.
And that's different from getting a reading from somebody and you have that feeling, this doesn't feel authentic to me. That isn't really, that doesn't feel right. That's different from somebody told me different. So definitely trust your instincts, but at the same time, just know that, and Corbie will tell you the same thing. I can do a reading for you one day and get one thing. You make choices that give you a completely different reading the next day.
Yeah.
That's, going back to last week. Remember, I said somebody comes to me 6 weeks later, comes back, said, I did what you said, everything has changed. Yes, I'll read them again. But if you ask the same questions every year and I give you the same answers and there's no movement, I will not read you again. Yeah. Because you obviously are not using what you heard.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Katrina, I think we're on to number 3.
Number 3. My number 3 involves curses. And the book that I have coming out in August is called Uncrossing. It's about the different ways to remove curses, hexes, and crossings from your energetic space. And the idea people have, and this is largely based on Hollywood and common thought, is that curses are always something sent by a witch. And so if you have a curse, it must be someone who has cursed you. That seems to follow. And that is not the case usually. In fact, I am looking at around 22 jars of eggs over on my shelf. And those are cleansings I have done in the past 8 days. And those are all people who had various forms of crossings, hexings, cursings. The main difference in those things is that curses are usually long-term, crossings are usually incidental, and hexes are usually very personal to one person. But the thing is that what we would call a curse often happens, and I would say, I would give it a good 90-95% of the time, happens incidentally. It doesn't happen because somebody sat and poked pins into a puppet or a voodoo doll, or because they stirred the cauldron or beat nails into a beef tongue or whatever it might be to create that curse. Put you in a mirror box, put you in the binding jar, whatever. Usually when I'm pulling curses off somebody, and I'm talking some big ass curses, usually they have gotten them incidentally and the sender never knows they sent it. And that is why it's so vital that as actualized, evolved people, we are mindful of our thoughts and our actions. Because the way that these curses happen is that somebody sends a bolt of strong negative energy toward another person. And that takes up real estate in their spiritual space and can fester. It can affect their ability to experience joy. It affects their vitality. Their difficulty with sleeping comes around from this sometime. Addictions are amplified. All kinds of terrible things can happen from these things that we call curses. And think about the most common place people would get cursed: road rage.
Yeah.
Road rage. This is somebody that you hurl negative, huge negative feelings toward, that you've never met, You don't know their story. You know nothing about them. You're just putting huge negative energy toward them. You don't remember it 10, 15 minutes later, and they're walking around with it with a continually deteriorating quality of life, having to come to me and get it cleaned up. So envy is another really big one. It's called mal de ojo, or the evil eye. Comes from envying something that someone else has, or the way that their life is compared to yours. So the majority of curses do not come from a witch. And the first thing people will say when I read their egg and say, you have a curse here and a crossing here, who sent it to me? Who sent it to me? You know what? Doesn't matter. It's gone.
And
So
we
that's
say it to ourselves with all the negative self-talk we do.
You can absolutely 100% cross yourselves. Mothers cross children all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Spouses cross each other all the time. You go to your friend and you talk mad shit about your husband. And I've had, I mean, like one of my best friends from a few years ago sat in my office and said, my wife drives me so crazy. I really wish she would just die. That would be so much easier for me. And that energy is palpable and it carries. And you're saying a person's name. And if you know anything about hoodoo, you know that speaking the name is the attachment that gets the energy to where it's going.
Yep.
So saying the person's name and speaking negatively about them in a hateful way is a form of crossing, and that will affect the vitality of the person. And so it's not that we can't ever be in therapy or can't vent or can't, be heard. But when we are routinely bashing people and being negative, we are putting something horrible into their soul.
And we definitely have a hand up from the audience. Miss Christina Seal wants to know if this is the careful what you wish for. Is it the same in terms of what you're talking about, crossing people?
That's more of manifestation. The universe believes what we tell it. If we say things like, we drop a pencil, God, I'm so clumsy. The universe goes, all right, she's clumsy, got it, noted. I can never get ahead. I'm always broke. Look, she's broke. There you go, statement. If you're saying, my husband is always a pain in the ass, guess what? Your husband's always going to be a pain in the ass. So we manifest what we state and give power to. And that form of manifestation is be careful what you wish for, that you can put energy into that even without trying.
My shorthand way of saying that is the universe is a short order cook with no imagination. This time.
Absolutely.
Another thing is that the universe doesn't hear modifying words, it hears nouns. And so, or target words. So if you say, well, let me think of something. I don't want to be fat. The universe hears fat and gives you a lot of that. So it doesn't hear the negatives, or I don't want, or don't do this. I want to not be unhappy. You would say, I want to be happy. You focus on what you want and not what you don't want.
Absolutely.
Right. Don't say, I want to be out of debt, because the universe hears debt.
Yeah.
Say, I want enough and to spare. I want to be completely solvent.
Yep.
I have an
Those
abundance.
are happy words.
Yes, yes. The majority.
Less beyond reason.
Mm-hmm.
And to your crossings piece, the majority of the psychic attacks that I end up removing from people's third eyes, those extractions are self-imposed.
Yes.
And most people are so taken aback when I say that, and then they go, wait, no, I need to love myself more. And I'm like, well, it's a good start. Now that you know that you're actually harming yourself. I mean, all wounds don't have to be physical. So
True.
With that, I think we have arrived at Miss Corbie's fourth.
Okay. We are so special that no one can do what we do. Now, there's a reason why, for me, that is a misconception. I'm going to tell tales out of school. There was a point where I was being talked about for a reality show. And I was told, you mustn't tell people you can do what I do, I'm not special. You mustn't say that. They must think you're special. They must think that it's you and nobody else that's going to solve this. I pulled away from that whole energy, because that's ego. That really is. And well, it's the same reason that I wrote the book on how to be a A-lister at Holistic Expos. I'm 66 next month. I will not be here in another 40 years. I don't think so. We don't tend to get to triple digits in my family. So I have to pass it on. We are teachers. And again, the difference between a guru and a mentor, I don't know if we've covered this before. A mentor wants you to be better at what they do than they are. Classic example, Meryl Streep with her Oscar thanking her Yale drama professors. For me to say nobody can do what I do, I am it, baby, I think will stifle my gift, because for me it feels greed. It's not giving, it's not sharing. Now, I could be talking out of my butt, and I would love to hear what Katrina has to say about this. It doesn't mean I'm not good, but it does mean I'm not the only person in the world that you can come to. That's the difference.
I do want to say that Corbie's butt is spectacular.
It really is.
Right? Thank you. That's what she's bringing us to weigh in on. You, as sad as you are to see Corbie leave, you're so happy to watch her walk away.
You wonder why I wear my long velvet coats around this one. But seriously.
Yeah, what she said.
You know, I appreciate, listen, I'll say I appreciate many times, because I love you both and appreciate you a great deal, but I'm going to define it every time. And that is to say that both of these ladies will always empower you. And not only will they empower you, but they will teach you how to do it. I mean, they both teach classes. Corbie's got upcoming classes in March, which we will highlight at the end of the show. And I was just on Katrina's website trying not to shop, because she's got pre-recorded classes on there. And I was like, wait a minute, I can do this on my time. And she takes time to answer questions. They both go live on their own individual social media platforms to dispel things, to teach, just by talking and sharing, because they don't want to see you fall into the same traps. They want to create an equal platform and space for everybody to rise together, because they know they can't do this themselves. And so if you are looking to be a part of safe spaces and to feel that empowerment and to know that you can do it too, these are the best people to look at. So I'm going to step down off my praise soapbox, because again, I love you both. And I'm going to arrive at Katrina's fourth.
Okay. So this is a really big one, and it's really controversial, and it could be the zip file that unlocks a huge conversation. So Dahlia, we don't have a whole lot of time left. We have announcements, so I want you to curtail it if things get a little bit offhanded. But many hundreds of years ago, when working magic began to fall out of favor, and we really saw this in for instance, the Tudor times and the War of the Roses, it was a time when magic became very suspect. And the reason for that is because the rise of the Christian church denigrated a lot of the astrologers and the seers and that sort of thing. And then the witches became suddenly something very malevolent and malign. A word that came out of that time was black magic. And a lot of people still use that. They'll say, I really just want to, banish this person from my life, but I don't want to be doing black magic. Or, that black magic and white magic seem to be words that I hear a lot. And I just want to say that black magic is something that literally does not exist. Black magic is about magic that makes certain people uncomfortable. And what makes one person uncomfortable, another person won't blink an eye at. And it doesn't mean that one person is more moral than another person. It just means they have a different set of ethics and a different perspective. And so you do magic to get somebody put into jail who is a rapist, and somebody else sees that as a curtailment of that person's free will, and therefore it's black magic. So I don't even use that term black magic. I work under a premise of, is what I'm doing justified or is it not justified? I'm the only one that can make that decision. I can weigh in the information that I get and make my own choice as to whether I want to contaminate my spirit by doing something that feels untoward to me, or I can just choose not to do it, which is what I'm normally going to do. And I may know somebody else who's more comfortable doing that and refer them to another person. It's not my job to make the client feel bad for what they're asking for. It's my job to let them know the spectrum of what I do, about what I feel they should do for their circumstances, and not step outside of my ethical boundaries. So I don't really go to black magic. I don't go to white magic. I don't go to any of those terms. I just say justified or not justified.
Interesting.
Linda, the good witch does not live here going, are you a good witch or a bad witch?
Yeah, I get that all the time.
And
That's a good witch thing.
you know, too many people that I run into, oh, well, I'm a white witch. I don't do any of that evil stuff. That's ego, kids. That is
Also
ego.
racist.
And we, trust me, we're actually going to go next week talking about judgment versus discernment. That's going to wade right into that.
Excellent.
So,
Excellent.
right there with Katrina, magic is.
And our lovely friend Gladys Gordillo.
Love you, Gladys.
Yes, love Miss Gladys. She commented that there is a lot of left-handed work that is absolutely justified, and I wholeheartedly agree. Absolutely agree. So with that, I'm going to segue. Oh,
one thing real quick. I was on the George Norrie show, what's the name of it? Coast to Coast. I was on Coast to Coast. Wonderful guy. I really loved interviewing with him. And I was really nervous about it because Art Bell seemed like such a jerk, and I was really uncomfortable with the show. But I did it, and George Norrie was fantastic. I absolutely loved him and would love to spend a lot of time with him. But he said that he said something about, Katrina, I get the feeling that you're a good witch. And my answer to that, I was blessed by the angels. The angels fell into my mouth. And my reply was, no, George, I'm a great witch. Anyway, that was my story.
well said. Well said. Corbie, number 5.
All right. Very simple. If you believe in a standard religion, psychic work can't be done. Guys, people ask, does she believe in God, to my front person at a psychic fair? This is do you say to a doctor, do you believe in God because you're doing gene splicing? Yes. Look, frankly, Einstein felt that you had to believe in God to make the amazing connections and understandings that he did. So if you see one of us, generally we will believe in God. I have to admit, I don't care what flavor God you believe in. I have a little trouble with atheists because I've dealt with the cancer dance 3 times, and I really do think I had a little help, whether it was, big dude, Ralph the Wonder Dog, I have no idea. But I have to believe that there is something up there, as Mel Brooks said, bigger than Phil. So.
Thoughts, Katrina?
One of the biggest challenges I have, actually, because my primary client base is usually pagan, but my practice tends toward hoodoo and brujeria, which are both Catholic practices. And so when I'm training people, a lot of times they'll get really weird about me mentioning, well, I need to pray about this, or use this psalm, it'll get rid of demons or whatever, because they're so ostracized from the church that when I bring it up, they get kind of weird with me. So actually, I think I believe in God a little bit more than the average pagan does. as far as Christian God work, but I do work with the idea of there are many gods. I mean, even in the 10 Commandments, it says, thou shalt not have, thou shalt have no other gods before me. It doesn't say there aren't any other gods. It says
Right.
I'm first. I was at the head of the table. So yeah, so that's, yeah, I get asked a lot. Do you believe in God? Or do you hate God? No. We're booze.
All right. Katrina, number 5.
Number 5, and then I have a codicil after number 5. The last thing I want to bring up is one that is the bane of my existence, and Eric especially gets really ratcheted up about this, and that is the idea that people come in here with that spells require no mundane work. That if I'm doing spell work and lighting a candle for something, I can sit back on my little keister and not do anything to make the work happen. So I can do money magic and not try to get a job. Or I can do love magic and not go out and try to meet people. You have to work in accord. As above, so below is a thing. So when you put energy out there to achieve something, that spell work is going to work a lot better if you are also working mundanely to make that happen. If you want to get the perfect job, the perfect job, do spell work for that, but apply for the job. And of course, everybody wants to win the lottery. You got to buy the ticket. I mean, there's always going to be mundane effort that has to happen in conjunction with spell work, and that's your homework. You are responsible for doing that. And Corbie has a big problem with this too, where you're channeling down the information for what a person needs to do, exactly what they have to do to meet their goal. And they come back in 6 weeks. Well, it didn't happen. The card said it could happen. It didn't happen. Well, did you do this? Did you do this? Did you do this? No. There you go.
There is a gorgeous German proverb that I actually have above my bed to remind me, and it is, begin to weave and God will give the thread.
Yep.
Well, it seems like Katrina took us home on that one. I mean,
I have a codicil.
She has a codicil. What is that?
So
Oh.
going through these 10, I channeled down another thing I want to bring up very quickly. And that is, we talked about 10 misperceptions about us. I don't have 10, but I have one misperception about, I won't say you because it doesn't apply to everybody, but it applies to a lot of people that come into my shop. I can't tell you how many people come into my shop with a frantic desire to be important.
Oh.
And I love that you're important. I love that you have meaning to who you are and why you're here. But I swear to baby Jesus in the freaking manger, if one more person comes in and tells me about their goddamn indigo child, or that they're a starseed, or that this guy who left them that they have to have come back as their twin flame, I'm gonna kill somebody. I'm gonna be a And the thing about twin flames, I don't know if you guys have this or not, but anytime they're talking about a twin flame, it's either somebody that left them or it's somebody that doesn't want to spend time with them for some reason. So it's not that I don't believe those things are possible. I don't believe it is as possible as everybody is promoting. So just be important being who you are. You don't have to have today's special buzzword assigned to you to be freaking amazing.
Absolutely.
And your kid's just a kid. Sorry.
All right.
You're a special kid, but just
It's really where we place value, right? I mean, if we ever sat down and actually looked at our values and actually worked on our lives, that importance would come forward. So, it is, we don't have to look for it. It's already there. It doesn't need a label.
To do a reading on what your purpose is.
Well, there's this class I'm teaching in March.
Yes, indeed. Great segue. Corbie, did you have any comments on that last channeled piece from Katrina?
No, it's absolutely right.
Right.
And, soulmates but I thought he was my soulmate. And I have to say, kids, soulmates are our core team, and we don't always marry them.
And we have lots of them.
Yes.
Lots of them.
one less funny comment from Miss Rin. Facebook, she said, "Hey, Facebook says I can pay to learn how to harness my starseed purpose." I've seen that ad, and I think that my comments are, some people, hopefully that's a step into you empowering yourself as you learn what resonates and what doesn't, because wow. So this was awesome. You guys are, I mean, I can't say enough about how amazing you are. We definitely will continue this journey. Like Corbie said, we are going to be talking about judgment and discernment next week. But we have a couple of announcements. So every Thursday, if you love hearing from Miss Katrina, and she has a whole amazing team, 2 others that join her, Miss Nelta Privet and Miss Gladys. I want to really roll my R's here, Gladys. So bear with me here. Gordillo.
Yep.
I really want to, yes. All right. We have these 2 lovely ladies joining Katrina every Thursday to bring us readings, and they're amazing, guys. I mean, the time that they put in, the answers that you get, and God, I love the Rebel deck. I mean, if you ever want to get chewed out by a deck of cards, I bought it because I was just like, give me all the sass. But it's a good time. It's laughs. It's community. You can join Katrina at Crossroads Metaphysical virtually on her Facebook page. And we will add links in the comments. Thank you. And we have also, Katrina has Conjure by Candlelight on Saturday with Gladys. And it is an open discussion, a roundtable discussion at 6 p.m. for you to ask any questions that you may have about magical workings. Is that about right, Katrina?
Tell them the time zone, though.
And Katrina is on the West Coast, so that's going to be Pacific Standard Time. For us East Coasters, 5 hours behind. So 3? Well, see, I would have been late. Would have caught the replay. Sorry about that. And then if you want to spend some more time with Corbie, she has an awesome class coming up in March, on March 20th. We are looking at the Sentence of Passion class. So you heard her mention her sentence of passion, what drives her readings, and really everything. Would you say everything else that you do, Corbie?
It's it's how I direct my arrow. And I'll be honest, this class is not just you sit there and you listen to me pontificate. You're going to have homework, and you're going to come in. I facilitate. You're going to work with a partner in a breakout room. And by the end of the class, you will have the motto and the sentence of passion that will take your life to the next level.
That is March 20th.
Mm-hmm. And again, that's going to be Pacific time, because that's through East West out in Seattle.
All right, there we have it. East West in Seattle. We will have event links up as well in the comment section. So you can definitely, and bear in mind, so these ladies are amazing, right? You've heard their wisdom, you've heard their insight, their knowledge, their background is worth more than what could be paid. But oftentimes you get an opportunity to spend more time with them, and they're very generous. So whether that is on Thursdays with Katrina and then doing the deep dives, I highly recommend that you seek out especially her unhexings and candle work and all of that. I myself have been a beneficiary, and Corbie has as well.
Both of us have had limpias from Katrina, yes. And they are like atomic cleansing of the soul. It is amazing what they can get out of you.
I swear I could lift a bus the next day. I think I tried. I really do think I tried. His name is Mason. He's 3. So bear in mind the energetic exchanges that I mean, if you feel drawn, make it a point to get out. You know, Corbie's offering this group class. It's going to be a tenth of what her one-on-ones are for this type of work. Katrina has so many giving opportunities, and her one-on-ones are well within the realm of affordability, as are Corbie's, for what you get for the work. So make sure that you guys are patronizing. Speaking of patronizing, Corbie can also be found on Patreon. Patreon is a subscription-based website, and you can go on there. You can get unique and personalized meditations and opportunities. And if you want to have a taste of some of the meditations that are up, and you get more exclusivity from Patreon, if you want to have a taste of the meditations, you can check out her YouTube page as well, which will also be in the comments. There are going to be so many links. You're going to have so much to do, so much homework. Just click everything. And Katrina, do you have anything else you want to share about Crossroads? It's such an amazing place. I wish I lived in California.
I wish you did too. We love our shop. We really do. You know, when Eric and I started it, we decided we wanted to make the shop we would want to go to. So
Nice.
we are very careful to order the things that resonate with us, and it's just a great shop. We love it. Crossroadsoccult.com.
Yes, yes, indeed. Any parting words of wisdom, guys?
Don't get run over.
Stay safe,
Really good.
wear your mask, do the smart thing. We would like you around with us for many years to come.
All right. We love you. Thank you for joining us again. And we will see you next time.
Next Sunday.
Next Sunday, same bat time, same bat place.